And also tonight on Bulls and Bears, Elizabeth Warren's Medicare-for-all plan drawing even more scrutiny, and the newest critics are going to surprise you, folks. Good evening, everybody. I'm David Asman. Thank you for joining us. Joining me on the panel tonight, Steve Moore, Robert Wolf, Jackie DeAngelis, and Carol Roth. Well, it is Election Day all over America, with just a year until the 2020 presidential election, and Real Clear Politics showing Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren still leading the Democrat pack. But Warren's $52 trillion Medicare-for-all health plan, not to mention all the other trillion-dollar policies she has, facing deepening skepticism from Republicans and now Democrats. Even liberal media outlets are chiming in. The Washington Post featuring an op-ed by Larry Summers, he was the former Treasury Secretary under President Clinton, entitled, quote, "Warren's plan to finance Medicare for all pushes into dangerous, uncharted territory." Meanwhile, in the New York Times, Obama economic advisor Steve Ratner writing, quote, "The Warren way is the wrong way. Her big government plans would damage rather than improve our economy." So, Robert Wolf, what happens if she does become the Democrat nominee?
Well, I just want to preempt to people like Larry and Steve. I said that how many months ago with you, that I was not for Medicare for all. I'm for health care as a right.
And you said you contributed to candidates, but not to her.
I did not contribute to Elizabeth Warren at this time. This is not surprising. Larry Summers and Ratner and people like myself, we believe health care is a right, but we believe in extending the public option but keeping private insurance. That was the essence of Obamacare. We thought people should take Obamacare and then expand from there. And I think that this is not a winning policy to run on, especially in middle America. And if you saw yesterday's polls, which you guys chatted about, in the six swing states, Biden was winning 4 of 6 against President Trump, and even on 1. And I think Elizabeth Warren was maybe winning 1, if that.
But if I could ask you that question again, what happens if she is the Democrat nominee? Would you be able to support her with these plans?
I would like to hope that she pivots.
It's a big pivot.
Okay. That's a good non-answer, Robert.
No, this is what I would say. She has pivoted slightly. She went from calling it a policy to a platform a couple weeks ago. Listen, I think that this is helping her with the populist left, as I've said many times. I don't believe it helps her win in the general election, and I think that most Democrats actually say that as well.
So, I was with your good friend Max Boot the other day, David, and I asked him that same question. Would you, vote for Elizabeth Warren? And he said, yeah, I'd vote for her because she won't be able to implement any of her program. That's a big endorsement. Look, obviously, I think her ideas are crazy. I think they would bankrupt the country. I think they would do severe damage to the medical system in this country. But I want to make another point. As you know, I worked for Donald Trump during the campaign, and he ran as a kind of renegade candidate where all of the kind of Republican poobahs came out against him, just as kind of is happening with Elizabeth Warren. And I guess my point is, I'm not so sure, that when somebody like Larry Summers comes out against her, I'm not so sure that hurts her so much. I mean, there's such an agitation on the left with the status quo that this may actually help her, not hurt her.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that this is something that actually brought the country together for once. There were so many people that many of us agree with or disagree with on everything that finally agree. This is patently insane.
Yeah.
And the concern from my standpoint is that there doesn't seem to be anyone that people are coalescing around. So they say, we don't like what Warren's doing. We don't like what Sanders are doing. Biden's not our guy. So who are they going to put up as the nominee?
It's interesting. I'll tell you one thing, because, David, you started the show by talking about records on Wall Street. Wall Street is not going to support Elizabeth Warren as a candidate. You look at the market, the momentum that it has. Earnings are strong right now. We've got a potential trade deal with China. You've got a Fed that's supportive of this economy as well. People hit the app, their Fidelity button on their 401k, and they feel good about what they're seeing. Someone like Elizabeth Warren to Wall Street is a severe threat to that, and they certainly are not going to get
Well, one thing that Ratner talked about, and I'll throw this back to Robert because you're a member of Wall Street, if you will, is that she proposes these massive changes to corporate structures. And that's one of the things that scares them most, that the management of corporations nationwide would be taken over by this conglomerate of workers and social groups, et cetera. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it's a problem. I think the idea of having overburdensome regulation is never good for a capitalist society. I think we should be regulated in a fair and balanced way, but not all industries. Some industries don't need regulation. They self-regulate. I think what she's saying about the tech companies, are they a monopoly or not? We've been debating that, and I think we go every which way from Sunday.
Right.
I think with the banks, I would respectfully disagree that the banks are not doing good things. They're more capitalized. They're lending more. They have more jobs. They've delevered. They're safer today than they have been in a long time.
And you guys are talking about Wall Street, but what about Main Street? We always forget that the backbone of our economy is the 30.2 million small business owners. And think about the devastating effects. So many of those small business owners have built up their wealth over their entire lives. Sometimes they're not taking a paycheck. They're keeping it in as equity. And now all of a sudden their wealth is going to be taxed. The implications for small business and Main Street.
You're missing something here, which is that, look, the if you combine the vote for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, that's what, 40% of the Democratic base of voters. I just think that, obviously I agree with everything that you guys are all saying, but, the ideas of Medicare for all, Green New Deal, increase Social Security benefits, all of these things are popular with the Democratic base of voters. And I don't say that with any joy. I think it's a painful thing to say, but I think it's a reality.
The question, though, is if it's enough. I think in some regard, you'll look at the candidates right now and you see these extreme policy proposals and say, you know what, if Joe Biden were on the stage, I would vote for him. But if he weren't on the stage, I can't vote for this. And I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking to people that I've been talking to about how they feel about the divide right now. And unfortunately, I think what you do is set up an election where President Trump really has a better chance to win if he's running against Elizabeth Warren.
Of course.
So, as the guy who was called the fat cat with the presidency, I wish they used a different adjective. One thing I think everyone's missing is Wall Street just doesn't vote with their pocketbook, and they don't vote because of the stock market. 40% are staunch Dems. They are voting for Elizabeth Warren. 40% are staunch Rs. They are voting for President Trump. The 20% voted for Obama in 08. They voted for Romney in 12. They're going to vote.
But Robert,
let me just finish. They voted for Hillary in 16, and who knows where they'll be in 20.
But Hillary Clinton and Obama versus like uber left Warren or Sanders. This is not. I'm out there in the middle of the country talking to people. This is not what people are saying.
Let me just ask Steve, because Steve, you wrote a book about shale fracking, and you know the industry very well. She would eliminate fracking. I mean, she would essentially kill the carbon energy industry, which employs 6 million Americans. Where would those people find jobs?
Well, David, here's the point. But by the way, that's not just Elizabeth Warren. Joe Biden said he wants to get rid of fracking.
No, he said on government.
Yes, he did. He said he wants to eliminate fracking. And by the way, we're going to run some ads there starting, next week, basically saying, wait a minute, Ohio, Pennsylvania. How is Joe Biden going to win Ohio and Pennsylvania when he said he wants to get rid of fracking?
Exactly. Well, that's the point. I mean, Robert, is there any strategy for these key states? By the way, the polling shows that in those key states, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the ones that Donald Trump turned Republican from Democrat, they're not polling so well, at least the left wing of the Democrat Party.
Here's what I would say. President Trump had a lot of promises when he was running, as do all presidents and nominees in the primary, and they usually try to shift to get the independent vote. My guess is if Elizabeth Warren's the candidate, you'll see some shifting.
First and last word from Robert Wolf today.